This is me. I'm Gabroll. And this is a story about how I got the best job in the world. I've had a lot of jobs over the years. I've worked at a movie theater.
Would you like butter on that?
A gym.
Would you like butter on that?
An auto garage.
Would you like butter on...
Whoa, slow your roll, biscuit. Can I get some butter on this?
But the best jobs I've ever had were the ones I made for myself. I was only 9 years old when I started my first business. Back then, I wanted some new comic books, but my parents thought I had enough. Or maybe they just thought they'd bought me enough.
Hey, Dad, can I get another comic?
Don't you think you've had enough? I'll tell you when I've had enough, Dad! We can't get any more until next month. If you want more, you're just gonna have to earn the money yourself. Also, you're grounded. I needed some cash, fast. I got an allowance every week, but it was only a quarter of what I needed, because it was literally a quarter. So in order to make a few bucks, I had an idea. I was gonna sell art. My art. To my neighbors.
Oh, good idea, that's not weird.
In my mind, my poorly drawn cats and spaceships were going to finance my comic collection. I thought I was gonna be rolling in dough. Although, looking back, I guess I wasn't that far off. I sat down and drew what I can only imagine were some amazing pieces of art, and with my new inventory of designs in hand, I hit the streets. Kind of. I wasn't old enough to go around the block without my parents' permission, so my customer base was limited. Fortunately, I lived on the corner of a cul-de-sac, and all those houses were okay. So I went door to door with a stack of random drawings and asked my neighbors if they wanted to buy one of my sketches. For $5! I know, that's outrageous. I guess at the time I thought my neighbors would be like, "Oh, cool art, kiddo. We should frame 10 of these and put them up in our veranda. What do you say, Becky?"
Yeah, let's buy 10 of them.
What's a veranda?
I knew I was charging way too much for some of my grade school art, but I also knew I just had to sell one, and then I could stop, because I'd have $5. And I was also lazy. So I stuck with it, and every single person said no. I was beginning to think I wasn't going to sell anything until I made it to this house here. A little old lady lived there, and I'd never been to her house before. But she thought the idea of one of her neighborhood kids selling art door to door was the cutest thing she'd ever seen. Nice.
Of course I'll buy one of your pictures, sweetie. How much are they?
This was awesome, but I didn't want to blow it by showing how excited I was. So I told her, well, the big ones are $5 and the small ones are $1. I guess my little 9-year-old brain had figured out a tiered pricing structure. Surprisingly, she didn't respond to the news by slamming the door in my face, but instead she said,
"Well, I can't afford the big ones, but I'll buy a small picture."
And she did. She paid in quarters.
1, 2,
And as she counted them to me, I had this distinct feeling of wonder. Because I made something and someone I didn't even know loved it so much that they bought it. Nah, I'm just kidding. I was super stoked because I just got paid. But it was cool that she cared enough to actually buy something. That or she just wanted to kick me out of her veranda.
Why do you keep saying veranda?
Either way, I was amazed. And that sale set the course for, well, the rest of my life. I wanted to create things and share them with people and make that my job. And eventually, I would, creating designs and products for people all over the world. But more on that later. This first business was off to a great start, but that first dollar made me realize I could make money doing something that I love. There's actually a word for this.
Ikigai.
Ikigai represents a crossroads of 4 rare task-related things. What you love to do, what you're skilled at doing, what you can make money on, and what people need. When you take a closer look, you'll see that when these elements overlap, one will find their passion, their mission, or a potential vocation or career. Most people only ever achieve a few of these things in life. For instance, let's say that you've had the same job for a long time and you're getting good at it. People even need you because what you do is critical to your company or position. But let's say you hate it. You may be physically comfortable making a living at a decent job that you're good at, but it will leave you feeling as if your potential isn't being met and your heart will ache for something more. Well, Ikigai is what you'd experience if you loved that job, and it's responsible for being the reason that people jump out of bed in the morning. It makes life richer and more meaningful, and it might even help you live longer. And while I didn't learn the word Ikigai until I was older, and let's be honest, I learned this word like 5 minutes ago, I had stumbled into that ideology by mistake, and I loved it. Well, as you can imagine, you can only sell drawings to the same 10 neighbors for a while, until their verandas are filled with art and they stop buying.
You're not funny!
I had to diversify, and I needed help. Weeks before, I had told my friend Will all about how I'd been making money around the block.
Hey, can I get in on that sweet door-to-door art selling action? This is what I drew.
he wasn't exactly an artist.
Oh.
All the same, he wanted in, so I got to thinking, what if we didn't specify what we did? That way we could do whatever someone needed. We don't just sell art or clean dishes. We're here if you need anything. Then later we'd focus on what we did the most of and do more of that. Now, I didn't realize this at the time, but I had just started my first partnership while I was A/B testing our business strategy to become more efficient. And as much as I'd like to say that was intentional, I just wanted some comic books. We were like the neighborhood handymen, or handy kids, or kids with hands. Will you mow my lawn?
Yes, sir.
Will you clean my litter box? You got it, ma'am. I'm a dude.
Will you wash my pet llama?
This is what I was born to do.
So I made some business cards with the first company name I ever came up with, G&W Services. Because if we don't do it, who will? Because his name was Will. The card had my parents' phone number on it and said, or come find me. Great marketing, A+. Good job. So all summer long, we did the cleaning, lifting, yard work, and llama washing that other people didn't want to do.
We did it!
Eventually though, I realized two things. One, doing menial jobs for neighbors just wasn't sustainable. Eventually we'd run out of work. And two, I hated it. Burn it.
This isn't even our yard, Gabroll. Let's just apologize.
Burn it all!
You're the boss.
You see, even though I was good at it, people needed the service, and they paid us to do it, I didn't like doing it.
You're a terrible boss.
It just wasn't Ikigai, and I had already done something that was. I dissolved G&W Services at the end of that summer.
It's been fun, man. And honestly, I feel really good right now.
You're too late.
Really, mate? The meme was like 3 months ago.
Okay, so for my first business, I sold drawings. For my second business, I probably broke child labor laws. And I'll bet you're wondering what I did next. Pause the video and comment with what you think my next job was. Then see if you were right. Go ahead, I'll wait. Here's a hint. This next job was... So, did I open a lemonade stand or a paper route? No, nothing so obscure. Instead, I started a Pog fan club.
What?
Yep. Pogs are these little cardboard circles that you stack and throw slammers at them to make the stack fall down like an old game of jacks, and I'm sorry that I know any of this. I was really into Pogs at the time, but it takes 2 people, so I thought of a way to meet more players and make some money. I put together an incentive package for my fan club membership that included free Pogs, custom handmade Pogs, a free slammer, and monthly tournaments at our local comic shop where we'd battle and talk about the latest Pog news. I heard Pog stocks were down 10 points last quarter.
I ate a spider.
You're a smart man, Jimmy. I put all of this together for just $4.99 a month. I even made a brochure. This means that before I was even in high school, I was making Pogs and Slammers at my house, selling memberships to all my friends, organizing the events, and collecting on memberships that hadn't paid. It was a ton of work, and I loved it. I managed to start a business with a product and a recurring payment structure before that was even cool. But to be fair, none of what I was doing was cool. Except for a few friends, I didn't really fit in. Most of my class grew up going to dances and football games and parties. You know, being social. Meanwhile, I stayed at home animating and making websites. But I don't regret it for a second. As for the Pog fan club, it didn't last. I eventually stopped collecting money and going to the meetups. But who knows? Maybe they're still out there, meeting to this day.
We're not!
It was almost a great thing, but it missed the mark enough to leave me feeling empty. I was hungry for something more. Now, I started a lot of other businesses, but eventually, while I was still a teenager, I would start a clothing company that would kind of do pretty well. But it didn't come easy. And once I was doing it, there were still a ton of issues and problems that we faced. Like customers not buying what we made, or having to change our tactics when things didn't work out the way we wanted them to, and even collecting money from clients that went bankrupt while still owing us. As it turns out, I learned a lot from my businesses growing up, but it wasn't just the bad things. Growing up, drawing was my hobby, but I've made it a career. Now I get paid to draw. Plus, I get to share what I make with people all over the world. And something I've learned is, unlike Pogs or llama washing, people actually want art. So I got the best job in the world by making it myself. Now don't get me wrong, just because you found your dream job today doesn't mean that it'll be the same thing tomorrow. That's a hard lesson that I've had to learn too, but it's also a story for another time. If you like this episode, please let me know by subscribing. Every click on the subscribe button sends me a virtual kitten that I adopt and raise as my own. My name's Mittens, destroyer of worlds. And please like this video, or don't, if you don't like it.
You suck!
It's totally up to you. Now, I really wanted a great sign-off, but all the good ones are taken, like wear your seatbelt or Plus Ultra. But I finally thought of something that I'm passionate about, and it truly represents me. So thanks for watching, and I hate salads. And this is where I'd put my fan art.
If I had any!
Oh my gosh, okay. A little bit shorter.